Okay, so Charris, welcome to the Temporis small video Zoom story. Tell me what is new for MB&F in the Geneva Watch Days. By the way, the only one real event, live event with people.
Well, thanks for inviting me to this nice video session. It's the Geneva Watch Days, but we're not presenting a watch. We're presenting a clock. And as you know, we've been doing this for quite some time now, for a few years, with a fantastic partner called L'Épée 1839. So they are specialists in table clocks. We, of course, are specialists in watches. But we come together, we collaborate to make these table clocks. The way these work is always the same. So we come up with an idea, an imagination, a concept, and then they do the actual engineering and the manufacturing. So it's a very nice sort of 50-50 collaboration. And as I said, we've been doing this now for 6 or 7 years. We've actually created together, this is our 13th. So 13 clocks in about 6-7 years, about 2 per year.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad, huh? From something which we had no idea. I mean, the first one was a one-shot, honestly. We didn't know if it would be a success, if it would lead to something else. Well, it has led to 12 other clocks, so 13 in total. So a nice story with L'Épée. So I guess I should show it to you.
Please do.
Okay. This one, and I'm trying to find the best angle on Zoom, so I'll probably get out of the picture a bit here.
No
This
problem.
one is called Trinity, because as you'll see in a second, it's actually all about threes. Let me find a slightly better angle here. There you go, more or less. It's all about threes, meaning that this piece has 3 legs, 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
It has 3 balls, globes, as you might see here.
Yep.
The movement itself, which I can show you from an angle, is actually in 3 different layers.
Mm-hmm.
The dial, which you can see here at the center, is in 3 sectors, meaning we have 3 sets of 12 hours and 3 sets of 60 minutes.
Yep.
I'll explain that in a second. And by the way, it's 3 limited editions in 3 different colors of 50 pieces each. So this is the sort of red-orangish one. There's a green and there's a blue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the interesting things about this piece is how you actually read the time. I showed you there's a dial here at the center, right here, the black discs.
Yep.
But they're actually quite small, the numbers. And so the idea, which you will not be able to see on the Zoom, is that you have to look through one of these crystal balls. And these balls actually reflect the image of the dial here, reverse it, and magnify it. So if you are looking at one of these balls this way, you will actually see a reflection of the dial, which shows you the time, hours on top and minutes underneath. It's a combination of optical and mechanical engineering. Just like some of the watches we've been doing before. If you remember the HM5 or the HMX or the HM8, we had, of course, a mechanical movement and then an optical display, meaning we had a prism that would actually read the numbers and reflect them upwards. It's a bit similar here, but of course it's a table clock. So that's the story of Trinity. And again, I apologize for having a piece that's not so easy to present on a Zoom. A watch would have been a bit more simple. But yeah, as you can see, quite an interesting object that happens to give you time.
So it's an as always the cooperation with Les Épées, correct?
Absolutely.
Anyone involved else?
Not really. Well, yes, actually, I should specify. How am I forgetting this? There is a third very important person, and that's another Max. So we have
not Max, another Max.
Our own Max Busser. He's part of the mix, of course, but a young designer called Maximilian Mertens, German designer, who actually did an internship at MB&F a few years ago after his studies. So when he was a young graduate from the local design school here in Lausanne, a very good school, ECAL, he spent, I forget, 8 or 12 months with us at MB&F. And together with Max Busser, they worked on a few pieces. The first one was in fact T-Rex, a previous clock, which we presented last year, I believe, a bit like a dinosaur.
Mhm.
This is the second one, and there will be a third one in about a year or a year and a half. So yes, Maximilian Mertens is a very important part of the mix here. And by the way, there's a backstory to all of this, because if you think dinosaurs for T-Rex, if you think now this sort of insect-like with these long legs, and if you know the next one, which we haven't revealed yet, you'll see there's a link to the film Jurassic Park.
Uh-huh.
And Jurassic Park was in fact the first, let's say, big film, major Hollywood film, which Maximilian Mertens remembers as a child.
Oh.
So it fed him all these ideas. It fed him the idea of the T-Rex. It fed him this idea now, and it fed him the idea of the third clock, which we present in about a year. So it's a trilogy.
You know, Charris, thinking about the childhood of our Max Busser, about his life in the science fiction, now I understand why this is such a powerful connection between them.
Exactly, exactly. And by the way, after his internship, Maximilian Mertens became independent. He's now moved back to Berlin. He has his own design studio. He works with other clients. So it's a nice story, because we've been doing this for several years now. We take young design graduates from the school, ECAL. They spend 6 or 12 months with us. They work on other pieces, not watches. They work on these clocks or the music boxes we did, the pen with Caran d'Ache. These are all projects which we worked on with young design graduates, together with Max, of course.
It's a good school, but Max is always good on that. He was always good on that in putting people in the right place at the right time.
That's exactly it.
Desire to do something which is bold and unexpected. And I think that's, I don't know, I don't want to interfere with your own marketing, but to me,
No.
MB&F is bold and unexpected.
Yes. And you actually said something very important before. I agree 100%. You know, I think our biggest area of expertise, of course, there are technical aspects, but I think what we have very special is this ability to put people together. As you were saying, to put the right people at the right time, at the right table, on the right project together. This is something that Max and the rest of the team have learned how to do. And it's not always easy, because some of these are strong personalities. You know, they have, you know, there can be a very strong technical person with a very strong designer and a very strong, and it's not easy to combine these different forms of talent and to come out with something interesting. And that's, I think, where we have some know-how.
Should we expect some new novelties coming in the next part of the year?
Absolutely. You have a new series of, I would say, well, how can I say without revealing too much? 8 unique pieces coming out at the end of September, built on an existing machine. So it's not a new movement, but a new variation of that in 8 unique pieces. You have a very interesting evolution of one of our legacy machines at the end of October, mid-October, end of October. Then you have, what else? An interesting series of HMs at the end of November. So every month, practically, you have a new launch. And of course, in 2021, a number of launches, including some which were planned for this year, which we delayed because of course, what happened before. So lots of stuff in the pipeline.
I will ask you something which we are asking all the people we interviewed during these days. What is your vision, Max vision, about what is going on? Basel world going bust, disappearing. Watch and Wonders being just online, which, as we discussed before, probably not so successful as expected. This new thing called Geneva Watch Days, which is in fact not an exhibition by itself. Then this plan to have a Rolex, Patek, Chopard, whatever, new exhibition organized by the same organizer, which is the foundation. With so many questions about next year. It's not only about the COVID, it's about how Because it looks like nobody knows, even Jean-Fred Dufour looks like he doesn't know exactly what he wants to do next year. This combination is the same place, the same organizer. However, there are two exhibitions, will be just one. Then is coming the question, which is the best time of the year to still be April, maybe January? Yeah. So I'm wondering, Max, MB&F, how do you see this, including your participation to the Geneva Watch Days?
Well, you're totally right about, I think no one has a clear idea, including the very big brands you mentioned before at the very top. It's to be honest, a very fuzzy, a very uncertain situation. So it's very strange because many of these brands, if you talk Rolex, Patek, and so on, have a very long-term and usually solid vision of what's to come, right? And I think in this particular situation, it's not quite clear yet. Now, what I sense, without giving away any secrets, recently in the past weeks, is that there is a true willingness, a true, let's say, in good faith, wish to make this event in April next year a success, and to put the best efforts possible, the best constructive efforts to make it happen and in a good way. Meaning, you know, we heard rumors a few months ago that maybe between these 5 big brands and the FHH, it was not so clear and so perfect as everyone had heard. Well, I think today it's back to a more constructive approach. They want to make it happen. Yeah. And they want to make it a success for the good of the industry in general. There are even other initiatives I've heard unofficially for maybe a third type of fair, typically maybe for more medium priced brands, which could also join the party in a certain way. Of course, not directly inside SIHH or Watches and Wonders, but in parallel and at the same time. So it seems like there is a true constructive effort to make that happen. Now, having said that, there's another force, I think, which is a bit contradictory, and that is the fact that, wow, these big fairs, they are very expensive to organize. They're very expensive for the brands. And in times like these, where everyone is watching very carefully their wallet, it's maybe worth reconsidering the structure of these things. There was a very interesting example at the beginning of this year in January, before the COVID hit us. That was the LVMH Dubai Watch Week in Dubai. Very interesting because we were there unofficially. We were not part of LVMH, of course, but we were there. We were renting a suite. Everyone seemed to enjoy it. It was a very relaxed atmosphere. And honestly, most of the effort, most of the money was put into providing a good experience to the people who were there, and not necessarily in creating these crazy, incredible, very expensive booths, you know, which cost a fortune. We're talking millions of Swiss francs.
Correct.
And these Geneva Watch Days is a bit the same story. You know, you're using existing infrastructure, hotels, boutiques, not creating multi-million-dollar booths, but nonetheless, seeing the right people, showing them the right product in a nice atmosphere. You know, it's summer in Geneva. It's quite nice now. Mm-hmm. Maybe this makes more sense. Yeah. So that's a bit contradictory. On one hand, there is this willingness to create a strong event at the end of April in Geneva. On the other hand, maybe a more light, decentralized, low infrastructure approach is also interesting. Could it be a combination of those? Maybe one strong event a year, plus 2 or 3 in other markets? I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas.
So, Charris, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Was really a pleasure having you here in Temporis Zoom session.
Thanks again.
Look forward to see you again with a different occasion. Maybe in life, in real life.
I hope so. Even though the Zooms are fun, I hope to see you in real life very, very soon then.